Good evening. We've had a bunch of our rain shift, and I'm in the process of moving a bunch of orchids out. I've set some of them out here while I get the shade house brought back out. I thought I was going to discuss a few things with you about nutrition and pH again. One of the things I noticed these Cattleyas, I changed their mix ratio a little bit over the last couple of weeks, and I'm just stunned at the color change and how all of a sudden the leaves are thick. I mean, super, super thick. These are really pulling in some heavy nitrogen too. The type of nitrogen you feed, like I talked about in another video, ammoniacal nitrogen or urea nitrogen or nitrate nitrogen. If you're using ammoniacal nitrogen, anything that has that as the basis of the nitrogen supply mix, is you're going to get a softer kind of growth, more like this, a little more flimsier growth, probably smaller growth, less growth. It's going to be more susceptible to insects. You're going to be more susceptible to spider mites. You're going to be fighting spider mites all the time when you use that type of nitrogen. When you're not providing the proper pH, and I guess proper pH to be able to absorb it correctly. Just feeding a fertilizer and feeding doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't mean anything. You can use a horrible fertilizer and it'll work great if you know how to use it, and if you know how to monitor pH and how pH works. That's the most important thing. Most important thing in hydroponics. And when you have a plant like an orchid that grows in hydroponics, you have to understand pH. If you only have a couple orchids, that's fine. You don't have to monitor pH, but you're never gonna. Those are, you'll get lucky. You'll figure out stuff after a while and everything. But if you have a bunch of them and you really want to make things grow fast and you really want a bunch of blooms and you're really trying to do something with your collection, maybe I can help explain a few things for you. All right. pH is the availability of nutrients to a plant. It's the range of availability of nutrients to a plant. Mosquitoes are killing me here. Sorry. If I give you some soup and it's too hot, you're not going to be able to eat it. If it's too cold, you're not going to be able to eat it. It's got to be in the range that you like. And like people, every plant is different. And if you know what nutrients are available at what pHs and how you can use those pH swings and stuff to your advantage and how you can control that, you can make the plant pretty much do whatever you want. You can make it grow at the rate that you want it or not grow at the rate you want. You can slow down its growth. And in hydroponics, sometimes that's important. You can make roots grow more. You can make flower. You can make it flower when it's not supposed to flower. It's all about control. People that grow hydroponically, they grow that way because they enjoy the control of it. Because they can make the plants, they can kind of make the plants do what they want. When I first got into this less than a year ago, I mean, I have a lot of experience in hydroponics and growing plants, but not in orchids. I got my first orchid less than a year ago, last November, but it was an easy transition, and it's been a blast playing with the formulas and pH swings to see how the plants react. And I can understand the importance of proper nutrition on these for sure. I want to touch on pH in a few spots here and see if it doesn't shed some light and help everybody though. Okay, without making this a big long chemistry class or creating a lot of confusion, this is a pH nutrient availability chart. This is not difficult to understand. It has the pH ranges wrote up here, 7 being neutral, 5-8 being the sweet spot, what we call sweet spot in hydroponics. That's why it's illuminated, because that's the sweet spot. That's what you aim for in hydroponics, or most growers do. This is a soil pH chart over here. We're going to disregard everything over there and everything you've ever known about it, because we're only talking about orchids and hydroponics today. Now, sweet spot of hydroponics is 5-8. Let's just say that for given's sake, because that's the way the industry works. Everybody has their own sweet spot. That's not my particular sweet spot as an individual grower, but we're going to use it because that's what they've got on the chart. You can see here N, P, K, and calcium and magnesium. We're going to forget about the manganese and the others right here for right now. We're going to forget about those for the moment and just concentrate on the NPK and the calcium and magnesium. Calcium and magnesium being probably two of the most important elements. We definitely need to keep track of those. So With nitrogen, you can see there's availability quite throughout the range of nitrogen, and that's why you'll get plants that grow all the time, even if you're not feeding them right. I don't monitor my pH. I don't pay attention. I just feed them and let them just do what they want. Yeah, because you're getting some nitrogen all the time, and they're going to keep on growing. Phosphorus at 5.8, phosphorus is available. From there on up it is, but from 5.8 down it's not. First time your moss gets bad, or your bark starts to get old and starts to decay a little bit, and the pH drops a tiny little bit, you're no longer absorbing phosphorus, and you wonder why your plants won't bloom. All right. K, potassium, it has a wider range. It's a little more available. But if you're still feeding, up around 6.2 or so, whatever your nutrient or your orchid mix fertilizer that you've purchased gives you, and I'm always around 6.2 or 6.4, the mid sixes, and I don't worry about monitoring my pH. It's not that important. Look what you're missing out on. You're not absorbing any potassium. Surprise, surprise. Calcium, magnesium. See how they barely just overlap at 5.8? Just barely overlap at 5.8? If you're feeding at 6.2 all the time or in the mid-low sixes, you're getting plenty of magnesium, but you're not giving your plants any calcium. If you're not giving them calcium, if you're not giving them a mix of those, you're not going to get thick, fat leaves. You're not going to get a lot of blooms. You're going to be more susceptible to mealybugs, to spider mites, to insect infestation, to all those things. Orchids live in the wild and are more resistant to these things because they get a wide range of these. All right? Now, here's one of the best suggestions I can give you with your orchid feeding and with your orchid program is monitor the pH, but don't be so hard-ass about letting just a mix dictate it. Adjust your pH. Use proper pH up and pH down additives. Don't use milk, don't use lemon juice, don't use different things like that. What everybody tells you, oh, you can use vinegar. No, you can't. Those things have other additives. They have other things that you don't want to put into your root system that will cause issues or collect, or even worse, will be attractive or attract bad bacteria or bad critters. So don't take those suggestions. Use proper hydroponic stuff for it. Okay? Use some common sense with this. Now, again, best advice I can give you about this when you're feeding your plants is let the pH swing. When you let that pH go up and down and up and down, let your mix fluctuate from up and down, you're going to give that plant a varied diet. You're going to give them a little P this week, and they're going to get a little more calcium the next week, a little more magnesium the next week, and it's going to go up and down. If you had to eat bologna sandwiches every day or peanut butter and jelly every day, it would kill you after a couple of weeks. You need a varied diet. Plants are the same way. Horrible analogies, I know, but I'm trying to put this in some sense. So this is just a tiny little touch on pH. Now, for controlling it, that can get really, really crazy. If you're interested in this, I can go a little bit further with this. If not, I'll just look at the comments and I'll make a decision at that point. But I appreciate everybody's time, and I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.